Hey everybody, this is Sloan from Dayglow, and this is a very nice chat with Ritt Momney. I'm stoked to catch up and just have a conversation as friends. I've been looking forward to this. I feel like we genuinely have things to catch up on. You know, I feel like so much has changed, and we were scheduled to go on tour pretty much all of last spring and kind of summer. We were going to be on the road for a long time. First show that we were playing, the nationwide lockdown happened, so the tour just got canceled. But I remember you were playing Put Your Records On at it, and it was kind of just like this new demo sort of thing that you had made, and then you would just like released it. Like, what was that process like putting the song out? Because I remember just hearing it, and you were so casual about it, and now it's just blown up.
I mean, I was really casual about it up until, like, it really didn't feel like a big deal until it became this career-defining moment for me. It was really interesting how it played out, but I mean, in a lot of ways, obviously that tour would have been so sick, and that would have been so fun. And it's a big bummer that it didn't work out, but like it worked out fine for me, I guess, because I went back home and then and recorded that song and then put it out, and now it's like a big thing for me. But I actually remember we were just like texting after the tour, just like checking in on each other. And then we're just like, have you made anything new? And then I showed you this like demo song of like this vampire like 80s synth driven thing that was just super dumb. And then your response was Put Your Records On. I remember you sending that, and I was like, oh crap, like you know, you're making good stuff. I was impressed by the vampire song though. That's actually something that I'm really impressed about like how you make music. It's like I feel like in a lot of ways I've kind of like written myself into like a character, and it's really hard for me to break out of that. And that was kind of like part of the idea behind Put Your Records On, was like what if I tried being happy like for this song, even if it like wasn't my own words. But like from all the stuff you've shown me, like it seems like you're really good at like kind of. Oh, this is Perry.
What's up, Perry?
You're really good at saying like, I'm gonna write a song about this, and it's almost like, I don't know if you feel like you're ever like inhabiting a character. But
for sure.
You definitely are really good at like tapping into these different sides of yourself for songs, and that's something that's been really inspiring for me. Like, after that Austin trip, I was like, I guess I don't need to like be taking all of these songs, like, not that you don't take your music seriously, and you obviously do, but like they don't all have to be like the entire culmination of my entire personality, you know?
Right.
Like I can tap into one part of myself for a song, and then another part of myself for another song. And I think that's like one of the essential tools like for songwriters in general. Yeah,
well, thank you. That's nice. Yeah, I mean, I try to do that. I think it's just important to like just take little tiny steps in what you're trying to say, you know?
That makes sense.
But I still want to like, I kind of already know the story, but just like have a conversation about like Put Your Records On and what it was like and what that's been for you, like having this viral thing that like happened, you know, because there's so many, because in a kind of similar way, like we relate, like with Can I Call You Tonight was like kind of viral, and like we both have had our fair share with like TikTok things going on,
Yeah.
And so like, what has that all been like for you? And like, I guess lately, what's it felt like?
Yeah, I mean, it's been a really good lesson for me in terms of like what's happening to you doesn't matter. It's how you're thinking about it that matters.
Sure.
And because it's crazy how much, especially like right after it started doing really well, how much I like missed out on the feeling of like, oh, this is so cool. Like, this is like a dream come true, literally.
Yeah.
Like, and I missed out on a lot of that because I was like, oh man, like I'm no, everybody's gonna think that like the next song I put out has to be like this, and and like my fans of my previous stuff are gonna think I'm a sellout, and and since then I've gotten a lot better about like really choosing how I want to think about it. And just saying, like, how I've been thinking about it now is kind of like, this is one song in my discography that's not even like my song. And it's like one part of my career. And it was super fortunate, and it is super fortunate. But like, it's time to, like, I want to move forward, and it doesn't have to like define me in any way.
Sure. Do you think that new perspective came from like moving out of LA, or do you think it's just kind of an internal thing that you've been through? Because I remember the move to LA was a pretty big deal for you.
Yeah.
Or move out.
Yeah, it was really mainly I wasn't really social enough that it really mattered that I was in LA. Like I had I did a few sessions in LA. I made like a couple friends. And the big part was just getting like out of like Salt Lake and sort of like being away from my family, because it did kind of feel like I just like went to this little box. I had this tiny 1-bedroom house, like a guest house kind of, and I just went there and just hung out by myself. And it was like pretty formative for me because it was interesting not being around people all the time. But I definitely didn't really feel like immersed in LA culture, you know?
Sure.
It was inspiring being like sort of in proximity to a bunch of these really creative people, I guess. But yeah, it was a big deal. It was a big deal in terms of just like, I'm like a kid growing up. And that was big for me. I think this whole battle around like put your records on was really just all in my head. And I spend a lot more time there than I spend anywhere else. So
sure.
Yeah, but it's been really interesting.
It's tricky saying these kind of things because like I freaking love LA. Like I think LA's awesome. Like New York's really fun, but I think it can get really like taxing on the brain when you're just in these like these main city hubs, you know.
Yeah.
And so I love Austin, and like you got to spend some time here with me and my friends, and I think it's a really interesting and cool time for artists that like you can really honestly be anywhere. And I feel like the world will continue to make you feel like you got to be in LA, you have to do this. And when you look at it like from the outside, you're like, who's telling me that? Like, is this kind of like record labels kind of telling you that? Like if you look at it and like it kind of seems like this whole thing. But yeah, I don't know. It's just a cool time where like you can still be with your family and like where you grew up. And I guess for some people, like they do really just want to escape, and like, you know, that's good for them if they want to like leave where they grew up. But I think it's really cool that like you can stay in your small town and still have the career, you know?
Totally. Yeah. No, I totally agree with that. It's been like, I really like being in Salt Lake. I feel like more inspired here, I think. Feels like I'm living an actual life instead of like living a career.
Sure. Oh, sure. Yeah.
When I was in LA, it was like, okay, I'm spending all of my time on music, and all of the songs I was writing were about music. Like I was writing music about music, and it was like, this is just like, this is
music.
Not productive. Like I was just like writing about how stressed out I was that I had to keep writing. And it was like, okay, so like very few people are going to connect with this. Like,
yeah.
And since I've been back here, like I'm hanging out with people who know me as like Jack, not as like Ritt Momney, you know, and who I've been friends with for a long time, and I'm around my family, and it feels like I'm living like an actual like kid.
Yeah.
Like a classic 21-year-old lifestyle in a lot of ways that I wouldn't really have in LA.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I get what you're saying. It can feel like suffocating to be.
Yeah. I mean, I've never lived in LA or New York, but I just generally, I know that would happen to me because I'm already like a workaholic, you know, like I have to figure out ways to like let go. And like you're saying, like people know you as Jack and not Ritt Momney. Like I desperately need those few people in my life that like know me as Sloan, you know, like I need them around.
Totally.
You know, but that's cool. Has like, I'm curious about this because I've experienced this a little bit, but has the viral moment of put your records on like shook any people that know you as Jack? Has it like surprised anyone, or have they like kind of treated you differently, like high school friends or stuff? Because that's always interesting to see those stories and relating with that.
Yeah, like kind of surprising. Like obviously they're like, wow, that's super cool, and they're like happy for me and stuff. But it's like they say that and then we just like go on with our relationship how it normally is. But what's been interesting is just like I wasn't like a total like nerd outcast in high school, but like I wasn't the coolest, you know? And like every once in a while, like on social media or just like out and about, I'll just like run into like one of the kids that was like the cooler ones, and they're like, dude, what's up, man? Like, how are you? Like, yeah, it's been interesting in that way. And that was like my dream in high school, dude. Like it was like, I was like, oh man, someday I'm going to be super famous and all these kids are going to love me. And now it's just like,
it's a lot more of a mediocre feeling.
Yeah, I know.
Than movies sell it, but that's funny. I'm always fighting my natural instinct to just really care what people think. You know, I'm just wired that way, and a lot of my personality comes from me like combating that directly. But it's interesting because like I talk about like people who know me as Sloan, but like I also really want them to care. You know, like there's this weird thing when like your family like I like almost want them to treat me like a fan, but I don't want them to. So I like it's like
totally.
It matters even more, and I'm even more sensitive to people who are personally in my life.
Totally.
You know, it's like you want them to be equally both, and then I'm like, I gotta, you know, give them a break, you know, let them just treat me normal. But
yeah, it's super interesting, like being in this position like that we're in, where like I'm sure we both have spent a long time like daydreaming about like being seen by people who like we don't see, and like being like being in the public eye, and then like once it happens to you, it's just like total different lens on it. It's like and it's hard to feel nothing. Yeah, and it's hard to, like, part of me is like, oh, I gotta be appreciating this more. Like it's so cool that like some of my friends are like nicer to me now. Like, and like that's what I always wanted.
Yeah, it's a weird thing to complain like, oh, you're nice to me now.
Yeah,
it's like, you're being nice, you know.
Totally. Yeah.
I'm totally that way too.
Yeah, it's hard to know how to feel about it, and then it's like, am I really complaining about this right now? Like, there are so many people who want this problem that I have.
Right. That's a funny way to put it. Yeah, I think it's dope too on the new music, like, that you're putting out is still just like you making music. You know, it's just still you like doing what you want to do. Because I know you're saying you were conscious about like not making another put your records on. But yeah, I love the new music. It's really fun.
Thanks, man. Like, I've actually been collaborating with people way more recently than I ever have before. And I think that you were like the first person I'd like really collaborated with in a like really meaningful way. And like I realized how much value there is in that. Like, and I'm curious to hear your thoughts on it because like you don't have any features on your new album or anything, do you?
Mm-mm.
Yeah, like I think you like obviously everybody should pick the balance they want between like their own voice and like and giving other people like access to that world of like the stuff they're putting out. And it is a scary thing. And like I'm sure you aren't choosing not to do that because you're like scared, but I like collaboration has been really fun for me, and really like freeing almost.
It seems like it would take the weight off your shoulders. It's like, it's kind of like we, you know, both made this or we all made this, you know?
Yeah. I feel like a way that we are really similar is kind of like the bedroom artist kind of vibe that we have. And I'm curious to hear your thoughts on that and how, like, I remember for a long time I was under the impression like everybody who makes music like makes all their own music.
Yeah, same.
Obviously it's just like people doing different things and doing what they want to do. But yeah, I think there's something really personal about and really genuine about people who kind of do what we do.
Sure.
Like about our music, I mean. And I think that kids can really sense that.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot to say about that. Like, social media has opened this entire door where, like, being an artist is way more than making music, even. And it's like, we have such a better read on art and media. Like nothing's, like, is hidden anymore. You know, there's nothing hidden. Like,
Really?
And there's so many parts of culture that, like, represent that. But, yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's an interesting shift. I don't know if there'll ever not be like Ariana Grandes and pop stars and stuff. You know, I think there should be. It's fun, but it is interesting how like there is this whole shift going on.
Yeah.
Because it's a big one. But yeah, anyways, I mean, to speak on collaboration, like I loved like making music with you. Like I thought that was really, really fun. And I think just making music is super fun. Like I hope eventually like my life goal would be like, you know, Dayglow, keep touring for, you know, a handful of years and then write and produce for other people. Like I'm building a studio, and like I want to have people over and like work on stuff together. But for Dayglow, I mean, at least for now, it's just been like this personal project where I'm just really, really nitpicky, especially just the way my brain works in creating stuff. Like everything matters to me, meaning like the mix and like everything about a song. And so I found it's easiest for me with Dayglow to have an outlet to do that. You know, like I have an opportunity to establish everything that I do and seeing every detail of it. And then eventually once I start collaborating, then it'll be obvious like what Dayglow is or like what Sloan is, you know, like what I like to do.
That's cool.
Like movies, like people kind of know directors, but everybody knows like, oh, a whole team of people made this. There's credits and stuff.
Yeah.
And I guess when you buy a vinyl record, like there's credits, but music doesn't really get that. And it's the biggest crossover of art and specifically entertainment, especially nowadays, because like it's way more than making music. Like I was saying, like you have to entertain people. Like you've got to have this personality and you've got to post, you know, and like terrible thing to complain about. It's amazing to be in our position, but it's just interesting seeing that shift of like the seeming like responsibility to like have to make more and more content in order to be a musician. It's like,
I think, I totally agree with that. And I it's really interesting how like the comparison you made to like movies and to art and stuff, because it really feels like music is kind of just like an outlier. Like I just like a week ago, and I'm sure there are so many freaking people who think like this still, because it's like how it's marketed. But somebody was talking about like Travis Scott, and they were saying like, oh no, like his lyrics are like the best. Like Travis Scott is such a good lyricist, or something like that. And I was like, and just out of curiosity, I wasn't trying to like ruin Travis Scott for this guy or something, but I was just like, I wonder how many people wrote Sicko Mode. And then I go on Spotify and like go to the credits, and it was like 25 people or something.
Wow.
And it was like, I think there's a lot of like, Travis Scott is like probably, as far as I know, like the creative director of Sicko Mode. Sure. And it's kind of like it's not like the director of a movie doesn't get any credit. Like they get the most credit. Yeah. But it's interesting, like celebrity culture, but I feel like we like are kind of trying to fight back against that a little bit.
Yeah. Like show like fans and people like we're just people. We're just people.
Totally.
You know?
And it's like, it is hard, dude. Like, because if you delete your Instagram account and like just like go under the radar and only release music, like it, like right now, like your career will take like a major hit, and like that sucks. It sucks that like I don't love posting on Instagram. It gives me so much anxiety.
Yeah.
And it's like part of the job, man. You got to do it. But then again, there's like the balance between like, do I want to do exactly what I want to do?
Sure.
Like, how much will it impact my career? Will I still be able to make music, like as a job?
Yeah, because the goal, you're like, I just want to keep making music, so I'll do this so I can make it, you know?
Yeah, totally. And that's a very, I feel like we keep saying this, and every time I talk to another like musician who has a platform, like this is said like 10 times, but it's like, we're so lucky to have that problem instead of a lot of the problems that a lot of people have.
Absolutely.
But yeah, it's like, it's weird. It's weird how important we are as characters to people.
Dude, that's, I have been thinking about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like we are truly convinced. Like, I love my fans, but this is just a general cultural like observation where it's like people are truly convinced they know like what they're seeing is objectively true.
Yeah.
Like on a screen. That's crazy.
Yeah.
It's crazy how quickly humans, at least in the Western world, have like changed like in years. Like that's a very existential switch in our conversation, but it blows my mind.
That's a really
that
a very general idea, but I think it's super prevalent. Like that's a really insightful thing, because you see something and you believe it. Like at least I do, like a lot of the time. Like and people see me like post something and they're like, that's who he is. That is like it's such a small, social media is such a small sliver of someone's personality, but it's like it's the only thing a ton of people get.
Yeah. And that's what always confuses my brain. And I'm trying to figure out where like there's this new thing. And that I ask this question at the end of every podcast, so I'll just kind of mix it into this conversation. But where you're saying like social media is like a small sliver of someone's personality, but when you have a big platform and like a big social media presence, it's like this paradox where like it becomes a bigger deal to you, but it's still just a sliver of who you are. You know what I mean? And so something that really fascinates me and I really want to figure out for the sake of my own health and for other artists and also my fans, is like what this is the question. Like, what do you think it means to like be an artist, and like what is our responsibility and like accountability being one?
That's a really good question. Yeah, I mean, obviously I don't feel like I have the answer to that, but like
sure.
I think if we owe anything to our fans, it's to make art that we love and be honest. And I think for us, it's like part of something that we can do that's really cool, that I've definitely seen you doing like on social media and stuff, is just like trying to remind people like, hey, what's up? Like I'm a guy that you could like know from high school and be friends with. Like,
so social media has this incredible tool where like I owe everything to YouTube and like these social media platforms, which YouTube, I'm like, I always love YouTube. Because it's just like, just this world. But, it's like social media connects people, and that's incredible. And like we have platforms, but it's just a new thing. I think people and artists are figuring out like, what does that mean to have a platform? Like, what's the responsibility and accountability for one? Like that's a word I'm hearing a lot lately, is like accountability. And I just wonder how that looks in action. When like all you can keep someone accountable is their digital presence, because you can be someone you are not on social media.
You totally can.
I'm just always interested on like our general role as artists and like what our obligation is.
That is something I've thought a lot about. I think it's less a question of responsibility and more a question of like what's a good idea. Like I may not be responsible to set a good example for people. Like I may not owe that to anybody, but like it's probably a good idea.
Yeah. I think like what I'm coming to learn from like hearing people's perspectives and just thinking about it on my own time, there's like this Mr. Rogers, like Fred Rogers interview where he is accepting like this Hall of Fame award And it kind of framed my question, you know, because he's talking about how like what we should be doing is just recognizing like the implications of our actions as like artists. He was specifically talking about television, you know, like live TV, but like I just have to remember like music especially is so unbelievably like scientifically powerful. And I just always forget that. We're like, how do you mix like being lighthearted and fun, but like recognizing the like obligation and importance of how you're helping people process the emotions that they have, you know? And so I'm just always curious hearing people, and from your answer, I mean, I already knew that we thought pretty similarly about these things because, you know, we already know each other, but it's just interesting hearing everybody kind of give their takes on like what that platform is and like how to use it. You know?
Yeah. I mean, I think conversations are important. Like it's like, seems like conversations aren't happening very much. Like,
yeah, but like that's the thing about social media, is because I every time I'm just obsessed with like social media and like what's going on. That's what I always end up talking about. But I'm just so fascinated hearing people, because I'm usually talking to people with a fair share of Instagram followers and stuff. And you're like, we have these platforms, and like, how do you freaking use it? Like, what do you do? You know? But the thing about like social media is you can't have conversations. It's like you say what you say, and then there's no response. Like I've just seen so many posts lately that confuse me, because like there are these things like, let's talk about blank, but it's like a post. It's like, but we're not talking about it, you know? And I just think that's an interesting way that like we're starting to communicate. Which, I mean, most of the time they're valid points, but I just think that that structure is concerning. You know, not to get too far into it, but yeah, I don't know. I'm definitely optimistic and hopeful, but yeah, like what you're saying is like conversations are just important to have. It's really important.
Yeah. No, I think there is hope. Like, I think that like making a real human connection in person with somebody still feels better than like making a connection over social media. And hopefully that line is never crossed. But yeah, I think like people can spend all day, every day yelling at people on social media. But it's important to take a step back and think about like, should I be saying this? What's going to come from it? Like what's, and a lot of the stuff going on is good stuff. Like you were saying, like the, it's a really cool tool that you can use. I think interestingly, after like in this pandemic, it seems like it's become way more important and prevalent, because like people have just been at their houses on social media, and that's how they communicate with people and how they get information. I hope there's not like too much weight put into social media for people.
Like I wonder if like when the pandemic's over, like will social media go down, like the usage, or
I don't know. It's really interesting. Like something that I've noticed on TikTok, especially, I think trend culture is another really interesting thing. It's like, it kind of feels like everybody's personalities are becoming one personality. Like everybody everybody who watches a lot of TikTok, like me included, like, and that's why one of the reasons I've kind of tried to wean myself off of TikTok. Like I noticed like, I'm kind of just becoming everybody else. Like, because the only time we ever, not the only time, but a lot of the time we see other people is just like on TikTok. And then it's like a feedback loop of like, that's how this person's acting. That's how I'm going to act to like, because they got a ton of likes. Now I need to make a video like that. And yeah, crazy world we live in.
It's crazy, man. Well, I mutually agree. Human connection is always better. So whenever you're in Austin, again, let's hang out.
Dude, I love Austin. I need to come back.
Yeah, I miss you. We need to hang out. Or I can come to Salt Lake. Either or. Let's just hang out.
Yeah, I'll be back out to Austin. I need to come see your studio once it's done.
Yeah,
maybe
come
before
hang
that,
out.
dude.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're always welcome.
It was really great talking to you, man. Thanks for having me on this thing.
Yeah, of course. Let's hang up off of this Zoom virtually and go solve the world's problems.